ZipRecruiter can help you find the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free. At ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/FREE. ZipRecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire.
Here's your latest forecast from the WSIC Weather Center. Showers and possible thunderstorms will prevail all of this week. Today's high 64. The low tonight will be 61. Then the high for Wednesday, 73. The chance of precipitation is 90% today and 80% for Wednesday and Wednesday night. It will be windy on Wednesday with gusts as high as 23 miles per hour.
Purple Heart Homes presents Putting the Pieces Back Together, a forum for veterans and the community to connect. Here are your hosts, veterans John Gallina and Brad Borders.
Good morning, John Gallina. How are you?
I am excellent.
Your voice has changed.
I know, right? Yeah, it's like I matured.
And with that, Devin got fired.
Yeah. So,
no.
I'll be seeking employment next week.
That's right. That's right. Well, you can find his resume on Indeed.
Last time I was on, you said I could have all the roles. So
That's right. That's right. Well,
What,
we've
are
got
you
someone
promising our jobs when we're
Oh,
gone?
absolutely.
What are you doing?
Absolutely.
Oh
yes.
my gosh.
Well, welcome to Putting the Pieces Back Together, presented by Purple Heart Homes. Purple Heart Homes is a 501c3 based right here out of States, Vegas, North Carolina. That name is trademarked by another company, but I said it
really?
anyhow.
Oh,
Yes.
I did not know that.
Statesville, North Carolina. We help solve veterans housing issues through safety and accessibility renovations, and we actually manufacture tiny homes too,
I know.
which is pretty awesome.
They do not let me operate the power tools.
They do not.
Yes.
They do not. It is written in our insurance policy and our liability waiver that Devin cannot pull the trigger on anything that
What
has
is
power.
that about?
Well, it's because of experience.
Oh,
Right. And you can find out more about us at phhusa.org. That's phhusa.org. I wanted to open today's show because today is an anniversary of some sort that maybe you did not know about. But 1 year ago today was the Doritos incident.
Oh my God! No, I know about the incident, but I didn't know.
1 year ago today, I was at one of our local convenience stores after work, and a young man could not afford all the food that he wanted.
A year
A
already?
year, and
That's
I went
crazy.
to I bought his bag of Doritos that he left on the counter because he couldn't afford them, and I was trying to run him down in the parking lot and doing nothing athletic at all. Stepped up over a curb and ruptured my quadricep tendon clean off of the bone. It was a horrifying incident, and so had my major surgery on July 1st, and then the recovery process began. And so last night I celebrated 1 year of recovery by doing 240 weighted sandbag squats, courtesy of my friend Joe Baker and the Joe Baker workout of the day.
Not by eating an entire bag.
No,
of,
I did not.
of
I was
Ranch
eating Doritos while I was doing squats.
Oh, okay. Did you
200.
TikTok that? You should have
I
had
should
that
have.
online.
I
Man,
should have tickety tock.
missed an opportunity.
I know. I should have. So, but it is very good to be recovered for a year, and so I'm celebrating. And the word of the day is perseverance.
Absolutely.
Because with an injury like that, when you're in your late 50s, could be something that changes your life forever, and you don't get to do the stuff that you love to do. But through some awesome folks at Benchmark Physical Therapy, the official physical therapist of Putting the Pieces Back Together. They actually are.
They ought to be.
Ryan Dickerman and Faith Johnson, Faith and all our friends over there that helped me to get back. I'm effectively probably 95% healed and good to go and moving forward.
Yeah, I am actually really amazed at the recovery you made. I mean, seriously.
Agreed.
I'm bionic now.
Yeah,
they
it's
put like
crazy.
microchips in my knee and tendons and everything. So
Are they going to do anything about that mental thing?
No. They said that was inoperable.
Damage is permanent.
So John is on a secret mission along with Paul Cochran. They are on their way to Raleigh. They'll be down there meeting with some awesome folks today, and they'll be back later today, and John will be back with us next week. And I've got one big announcement, and Justin authorized me to say this. So starting in July the 6th, we've gotten fired again.
Fired?
Yeah,
Oh,
we got
gosh.
fired. We got moved out of our time slot. Justin said that he wanted to move us from the mornings. We're going to Thursday afternoons at prime drive time, 3 p.m. starting July the 6th.
Is that prime time?
That's prime time.
I did not
That's
know
like
that. Wow.
we have been moved up.
Are we in the big leagues now?
We're in the big league.
Can I get a
We're in the
celebrity
show.
parking space? Or
There is one right out there. It's the one where you're parked right now. Yeah, right at the back. So mark your calendars, right? If you're one of the 9 people listening to the show, you can mark your calendars for Thursday, July 6th, and we've got a great guest lined up for that day.
Yeah, we should probably talk to the guest today.
I've actually got a guest coming on that day. We've got a Marine on today. And we're going to have, looks like we're going to have a Navy SEAL on who has not written a book. So that's going to be awesome.
Oh, okay.
Amazing.
So
Yeah.
exclusive.
Exclusive, yeah. We're going to have a Navy SEAL on, so that'll be great. Anyhow, welcome to the show, everybody. We're glad you're here. And we have joining us from the lovely state of Virginia. He is not a goat farmer. He is as he has corrected me already once this morning, he is a sheep rancher. And his name is Mike Lennon. Mike, welcome to the show, my friend.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's great to have you. How's the weather in Virginia today?
It's kind of gloomy and rainy, but it's okay. We need the water.
Seems
And I'm glad for your anniversary today, Brad. I'm glad your knee's healing.
It's good to be semi-whole. Yes, for sure. But welcome to the show. Mike is a very special member of the Purple Heart Homes team. He is one of our board members. Mike, if you would tell our audience a little bit about your time in the Marine Corps. By the way, yesterday I had lunch with Dwayne Legan. Who said that he said affectionately that you were not smart enough to go to Purdue.
Oh, gosh.
And that you had to take your second choice of Auburn University. So he wanted to make sure that you knew that.
Wow,
That's quite a compliment coming from Dwayne Legan.
That's right. Yeah.
I hope he's listening right now. I got a couple things to say to him, but I'd get bleeped out if I said them, so I'll just keep it
we
plain.
don't have the radio bleeper.
We got the bell. We got the bell.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Go ahead, Mike. Give us a little background on yourself, where you're from, and how in the world you got into the Marine Corps, and why you didn't join the Army.
Because he's smarter than that.
Well, I grew up in the Midwest. My dad's family was from St. Louis, and he got out of the Marine Corps in 1963. He was combat wounded a couple times in Korea, and he could never get back on full medical status again after getting wounded severely. So he fought the medical status thing until 1963. The Marine Corps finally said, you can't get back to 100%. You have a Dorito bag injury, and they were doing a downsizing, so they said, "Here's your discharge papers." So he moved back to St. Louis, turned into an airplane sales guy. He worked at Spirit of St. Louis airplane or airport, selling Beechcraft aircraft for a while, and he had the comfort of having family around that area. My family had been in the St. Louis area for a long time. And then, interesting thing, living in St. Louis back then, a lot of Marines that were moving back and forth from East Coast to West Coast would stop by and visit my dad. So I had all these Marines that would come by and spend the night with us and then hop back on the train and proceed either east or west, depending on where they were going. I didn't know until later in life that a lot of them were really famous Marines. So I get to listen to them talk to my dad and just see the bond of service and the way that they loved each other and talked to each other. So I just wanted to be one of those guys when I grew up. So we moved around the Midwest a bit when I was a kid, settled in the west suburbs of Chicago. when I got out of high school, I enlisted in the summer of 1978, and I wanted to be an infantryman. So I went to infantry training school after boot camp at Camp Pendleton, California. I spent 20 years on active duty in the Marine Corps, and I retired in 1998. So I don't know if there's some things about my experiences. Is there something specific you want to talk about?
Well, I thought would really be interesting because you enlisted, and then lo and behold, at some point you went to the dark side and became an officer. So how did all that? I think that involved Dwayne Legan at some level. So I'd love to know about that story.
Yeah, so Dwayne and I we met. So it's kind of a theme that runs through my family, I think, because of my dad. So my dad was an orphan. My dad's mom died when he was 4 years old, and my dad's dad died when he was 13. So he was pretty much raised by an older sister of his named Dorothy and an uncle named Joe Lennon. Joe Lennon was a World War I veteran of the American Expeditionary Force, AEF, and he was an ambulance driver, and he received a Purple Heart. And he was kind of a legend in my family, but he died at kind of a young age, too, old enough to allow my aunt and my dad and another sister to live with them. But it was my dad's oldest sister that signed him into the Marine Corps in 1944. And he was a young guy. I think he was 16 years old when he signed up. So he never finished his sophomore year of high school. He just wanted to go fight World War II and serve his country. So his Uncle Joe, as a veteran of World War I, had taken advantage of the then version of the GI Bill. When he came home from World War I, he went to law school in Missouri, became a prominent attorney, and he ended up as an assistant attorney general in the state of Missouri. And then he ran the intercoastal waterways system for the United States of America. The point that I'm trying to make is that my Uncle Joe imparted on my dad the importance of education and learning and reading. So despite my dad never getting a college degree or even finishing his sophomore year of high school, my dad would always have a book with him. So wherever my dad was, my dad would have a book, and he'd be reading about something. And sometimes the topics were kind of eclectic. You'd be looking at him going, why are you reading about that? But my dad could talk about a lot of different subjects, and he was just a smart man. He had a lot of sense. But when I was growing up, he emphasized the importance of education. So when I enlisted in the Marine Corps, he kind of looked at me and said, if you're going to go in like this, Mike, you got to try to find a way to get them to help you get an education. So I did well as a young enlisted guy. I did a tour overseas during the Iranian hostage crisis with the unit deployment program. I was in 2nd Battalion, 9th Marines as a sergeant. I came back. I did the beginning of a tour as a drill instructor at Parris Island. I submitted a package for a commissioning program. I got accepted into that. I got sent on the same program as Dwayne Legan. And Dwayne and I had a mutual friend, and by virtue of the alphabet, we bunked near each other, so we hung out together. And so Dwayne and I would work out together a lot, run together. It was the three amigos is what we called it, our three friends, Dwayne Legan, me, and a guy named Jimmy Lopez. And Jimmy was a veteran of the Iranian hostage situation, 444 days in the American embassy in Tehran. And the three of us would just go run and hang out and raise hell.
That's amazing. That's an amazing story. We got about a minute to break, Mike, and I want to kind of pause right there because I do want to hear about your experience and what it was like, coming from the enlisted side to then, becoming a leader as an officer. And then, we'll talk a little bit about your transition, how you got involved with Purple Heart Homes here after the break. And when we come back from the break, Karen is here today, and the Metal Queen. And so if you're not watching on Facebook, you can see that Karen and Devin and I, we all wore the same T-shirt today. We all got the mental memo. We did not plan this.
No,
it just
we are
happened.
vibing.
So we wore
reviving.
We all wore our Take That Hill T-shirts this year, which is for today, and that's an event that's coming up in October. So we'll talk more about that later. So, but we're really glad you're listening to us here on Putting the Pieces Back Together. started. We're here with Mike Lennon. We'll be back in 3 minutes after a word from our awesome sponsors. So thanks so much.
In life, we plan for many important things. Weddings, our children's education, retirement, a celebration of life.
Hey, Mike, can you hear me?
No different. Planning and paying for your
USA.org. That's phhusa.org. And now it's time for everybody's favorite segment of the week. It is the Project of the Week with Karen Fisher, one of our project managers. She is affectionately known as the Metal Queen because she's been to see every single metal band in America. Every one of them. She goes to every concert.
Are you entirely certain of that?
I'm entirely certain. She's got all the T-shirts.
I'm still working on it. I do have a lot of T-shirts.
What's the next concert you're going to? Is it
Disturbed.
Disturbed.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm so
Same
disturbed
thing.
knowing that.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
I'm
awesome.
excited.
When is that?
End of July.
End of July.
Yeah.
Okay. I want pictures.
Oh, yeah, and video.
Oh,
and,
yeah, all that. Okay. All right.
All
With
right.
you doing the Ronnie James Dio?
Of course.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Of course.
All right, cool. Well, tell us about the project of the week. Yeah.
Speaking of RJD, RIP, RJD. Rest in peace,
Yeah,
Ronnie
that's
James Dio.
Right.
That's too many acronyms.
Yeah, so we have a U.S. Navy Vietnam veteran out of Hendersonville, North Carolina, Marty Nycom.
Man.
Do you know about him?
I've been to Marty's house.
Oh my gosh!
Incredible story.
I know it's really sad, but a really good ending
Yes.
to this story. So, 2007, he suffered a severe spinal injury and broken neck. And if you recall, in 2007, I sure do. That was during the recession.
Yes.
So, because of that, he was unable to work from his injuries, and
He was working on an airplane.
Yes.
He was in the wheel well
Yes.
of an airplane. airplane. He was an
Right.
airplane mechanic and
No
fell
kidding.
out of the wheel
Yep.
well.
Yeah,
Holy
at work.
smokes.
Yeah,
Yes.
terrible. So obviously he was unable to work for quite some time, and mounting medical bills. He and his wife Valerie lost their home to that. And I read his story, and he's a very good writer, and he talked about when they pulled out of the driveway of their home with their animals and their very few belongings that they were able to take with them. It was so sad. So from there, they persevered, but a friend of theirs was able to give them a camper to live in for a couple of years on his property, but that didn't last but about 2 years. So from there, they went to a tent.
Yes, he went to a surplus store and bought a GP medium tent. Him and his wife were living in that since I met them in about 2019.
Just living in a GP medium tent.
Yes, living
in Hendersonville.
I think it was they've been living in it since 2015.
Yeah, since have known them, they've been living in that. And he is a genius.
Yeah.
Figured out a way to get water out of the ground through hydrostatic pressure.
And built a platform so they didn't have to be on the ground. But they started saving money, so they saved and they saved and they saved, and then they were able to begin building their own home on some property that they were able to purchase. But building your own homes with your bare hands with your spouse is no easy undertaking.
And you're in your 70s.
Yes.
Yes.
And I've seen some pictures of what they've done so far, and it is absolutely amazing what they've been able to do. But they've run out of steam a little bit, and they just said, we really need help. So enter Purple Heart Homes and Home Depot Foundation. Now, Mr. Nycombe was able to dry it in, so he was able to get the roof on. He was able to get some doors and some windows, but again, they needed additional help. So Purple Heart Homes, with the help of Home Depot Foundation, is going to furnish them their HVAC, their plumbing, their well, their insulation, their drywall, and their paint. They're going to get them all finished up.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, it's gonna be incredible.
And then hopefully there'll be a big party.
Yeah.
Well, I hope so, because
it's actually in Bat Cave, North Carolina.
Yeah.
I know where Bat Cave is. I was born in East Flat Rock.
No kidding.
Yeah.
In the cave actually has bats in it.
Technically, I think it was Fletcher Sanatorium.
What was that?
Well, bats are
But I don't like to say that because people are like, "Oh, he's born in a sanatorium." Oh my gosh!
A sanatorium or a sanitarium?
Sanitarium.
I don't
There's
know.
a difference.
Or a terrarium. Were you born in a terrarium?
As I've said many times, I'm not too bright.
And bat cave bats are very good for the environment.
They
so
are
we
very
want to
good.
make sure that we take care of them. They may not be attractive, but they're very good.
They are.
Yeah.
Thanks, Karen.
Yeah,
That's
you're
awesome.
welcome.
Yeah, and for those, if you want to find out more about Marty, I think we got Marty's story on our website, I believe.
I think, and it's going to go out on our newsletter as well.
That's right. So you can find out more about Marty, and we'll be celebrating when him and his wife move into that house.
Yeah,
That'll be fantastic.
wonderful.
So
Thanks
thank you, Karen. That was awesome.
My pleasure.
Well, listen, hey, we're back here with putting pieces back together, and with our guest, Mike Lennon, Marine Corps veteran, and went from being enlisted to an officer. And so we've been hearing more about that story. He's been giving us some history about his family and how the military service has just been something that was so impactful to him. And Mike, we'll let you pick up where you left off, and thanks for being here this morning.
Hey, thanks. I'm glad. I keep checking my phone to make sure I'm on mute because you guys have me dying laughing here. So thank you for that. It's great.
Well, we can't afford a laugh track. You need
That's
to just
right.
do that.
I'd be like, oh. So let me pick that up with my favorite Dwayne Legan story. And like I said, I hope I keep looking at my phone to see if he's going to text me because the program that I went through to get commissioned was called MESA. The Marine Corps has a couple commissioning programs for enlisted folks. And the one I went through with Dwayne, what they do is they take reserve officers that are normally educators and they send them to a place to bring together all the people that got selected for the program. And the people that got selected for this program were typically sergeants, a few E4s, corporals, a couple of staff sergeants, folks that have been in the Marine Corps 5, 6, 7 years. So they're going to get commissioned and have enough time to serve as commissioned officers for a while. But basically, they know the Marine Corps. They've been in for a while. It's not like they're brand new out of boot camp. There are other programs for those kind of folks. So anyway, so it was me, Dwayne, and Jimmy Lopez used to go run together because we were all kind of same attitude about running, same.
You hated it?
Well, put it this way: I would have paid for a bag of Doritos for somebody, but I would have walked it out to the car.
Oh my gosh!
Awesome. And the hits keep coming.
You might be throwing a little shade there.
Yeah, there you go.
So anyway, we used to. The school that we went to was at the Naval Training Center in San Diego. They had a building for the Marines there. It was kind of off to the side.
Yeah, off to the
and
side.
And they gave us some time.
Off way in the back. Yeah.
Yeah, way back in the back there. And so we would run PT a couple times a day. We go run through the Naval Training Center where the recruits were for the Navy, and they'd have the chief petty officers out there teaching the Navy guys how to march. Well, the funny thing was, when they would go near the chow hall, the seagulls and the pigeons would form up in their own little formations around the sailors. So, Jimmy, now we couldn't be too obvious about it. No, you're thinking about this. They're trying to train us to be officers, but you can't take somebody that's been enlisted for 5, 6, 7 years and wave a magic wand and just say, now you're going to be so genteel and classy and all these different things, right? So Jimmy and Dwayne and I would look at these flocks of pigeons and seagulls and say, if we run just close enough to those and at the right angle, they're going to take off and fly right over the top of all these Navy recruits.
Oh, no.
And we all know what...
Oh, no.
Yeah.
So there's a visual for you, right?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So we did that a number of times, and one time we did it, and this one pigeon was in front of us, and it zigged when we zagged, and one of us stomped at it to get it to fly, and it did not take off.
Ooh.
And so Jimmy stomped on it, not intentionally, and Dwayne, without missing a stride, kicked it, and it went down the drain into the sewage system.
Oh gosh.
Miss Tammy.
So we had all these.
So not only did you murder the pigeon, but you buried the body.
Yeah, that's right. Well played.
And I was the third guy in the row, and I just kind of glanced over at all these Navy recruits with the best, war-faced Marine look I could get on my face. And they were all just in shock. They were like, "Oh my God, I can't believe the Marines did that to that poor pigeon." So that's one of my.
There's some guy.
That's one of my favorite.
Yeah, there's some guy telling that story somewhere over a cup of coffee. I remember when I was in San Diego, and these daggone Marines, man, they were bird murderers.
They're ruthless.
Yeah.
It might be the seal you're going to have on next week. You never know.
That's right.
Oh, God.
That's exactly right. So,
oh my gosh.
Hey, Mike,
Anyway.
yeah, thanks, brother. And
great.
so you went on to become an officer. What rank did you retire at?
I retired as a major.
Okay. Oh, well done. Well played, sir. That's good.
Wow.
That's near and dear to my heart because I'm retired. So you didn't get that. All right.
No,
so,
I
you didn't.
I'm
get
sorry.
that.
I got it.
Yeah,
I'm a
you got to be
little
quick
slow up
here.
on
Got to be
uptake,
quick.
yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So, Mike, when after you got out, and tell us about how in the world did you get connected with Purple Heart Homes? What's that story? What's the backstory on that?
Well, I was supporting another veteran serving nonprofit called the Fisher House Foundation through a charity golf tournament that they run. And I got connected to them through another guy that I knew from the Marine Corps, a guy named Derek Donovan. And so Derek and I were battle buddies supporting the Fisher House Golf Classic. And I think it was 2009, I met Dale Beatty at the first tournament that I was the chairman of. And it was a miserable, miserable day. I mean, it was a day that if you were playing golf with 3 friends of yours, you would look at them all, or you would call them, and you would say, "I'm not going today. It's too cold. It's too rainy."
Yeah.
But Dale walked up to me. We had 300 and something people at the golf course when I pulled up into the parking lot, and Dale Beatty walked up to me and said, "It's so cold I can't feel my feet."
Yeah.
And he looked down and I looked down and saw his titanium feet, and I was like, "Oh God, I love your sense of humor."
Yeah.
You are definitely a pigeon stomper. If I ever met a pigeon stomper, you are it. And then
That's awesome.
he said, I don't know about you, but I'm going out and playing golf today. And I got the other people out there to play golf, and we raised a lot of money. And after the tournament, Dale and I talked about what the mission is, and I told him about my dad's service and that nobody ever did anything for my dad when he came home from Korea. And Dale said, our mission is to help veterans of all services, especially, or of all eras, especially the older guys like your dad and World War II and Vietnam. And, you know, we exchanged contact information, and Dale came back and played in that tournament every year that I was the chairman of it. And then Dale and John came up to my house a few times and crashed at my house for the Special Forces tournament in Stafford, and we just became good friends. So Dale always asked me, hey, when are you going to quit working for that company that you're working for, SAP, and come and support us? So I had promised him I would do that. And John and I became good friends, and, you know, kind of the rest is history, as they say.
Yeah.
Well, that's
but I love the mission. I love the mission of Purple Heart Homes. I love the people there. I'm trying to help establish a presence in Central Virginia right now. I live in Rockbridge County, which is where Lexington and VMI and Washington and Lee, and we're near Lynchburg, Virginia, so we're starting to develop some presence here and get some applications from this area. So it's kind of off to a decent start right now. That's what we're trying to do.
That's awesome. When did you? I can't remember exactly when. When did you come on as a board member? It's been a few years now.
Well, it's been a year.
Okay.
I've been involved at Purple Heart Homes for 3 or 4 years, pretty closely.
Yeah. What was it that? Why did you want to be on the board? What was it that enticed you about that? Just the love of the mission, or was there something in particular that drove
it was
you to
both.
that?
You know, it was love of the mission first of all, and then John and I started talking about the strategic plan and the desire to grow the organization and the number of veterans that need to be served. And I've always talked to him about the use of technology to support that growth.
Yeah.
So he finally said, why don't you join the board, and I'll put you in charge of information technology task force, and you can help us plan that use of IT to make sure that we can grow and have the information and the business processes needed to grow the organization. So that's my specific area of focus on the board. Is I run an IT task force to make sure that we're making good decisions in the right sequence and that they're affordable, so that we can spend our money on projects, not IT.
I am really glad that you're doing that, because my first day at Purple Heart Homes, I walked in the office and someone handed me a stack of paper files that was about 2 feet high, and here's what this is how we've grown. This is where we've grown from. It was, hey, take a look at these and get started on them.
Oh,
that
that
was what it was. That was what it was, and it was just a stack of files. I had no idea what I was looking at. Now, when we have new employees come in, we have employee orientation. In fact, I want to shout out to my team. We have Dawn Clark, who I grew up with here in Statesville. She's now working with me. And
she grew up with you and still came and worked
yes,
for Purple
she
Heart
did.
Homes.
Yes,
that
she
is
did.
amazing. God bless you, John.
She did, in spite of all that. And then Joel Dalton, who has been a guest on this show, just started this last week, was his first week. And so when they come in, everybody gets, they've got all their IT solutions, computer. Everything is already programmed. They've got their email address, and they are off and running day one. And that's due in large part to what our IT task force has done to set all that stuff. And Cheryl Campbell, our IT director,
she's the bomb.
She is, man. This has been really incredible.
Although with the amount of email that we get these days, I do long for the interoffice envelope where you put your name on it and you string. And I do. I can't help it. I'm so overwhelmed with emails sometimes.
Yeah.
I think I've got like 400 unread emails at the moment.
Right.
Absolutely. Well, we got about a minute to break, and when we come back, we're gonna talk to Mike about the initiatives that he's interested in at Purple Heart Homes, and maybe some of the future things and what he hopes for. We'll talk about some of the events that we've got coming up and ways that folks can get involved with that. And so, Mike, really glad to have you here. It's just great to have you on the board and being a part of what we're doing. And then not only that, just being a really good friend to all of us, and we're really, really, really thankful for that. And so we're going to hear from a few of our awesome sponsors that keep this show on the air so that we don't get fired.
Oh, yeah,
and,
that's important.
so that'll be good, and we'll see you back here in about 3 minutes. And thank you again for listening to Putting the Pieces Back Together, presented by Purple Heart Homes. All righty. Welcome back to Putting the Pieces Back Together, and we're glad to have you here. Glad to have you here.
Yeah, me?
So glad.
Oh my gosh! Yeah,
so glad to have you.
So I wonder if the listeners are being bombarded with my loud voice this morning, because I know Isaiah knows to turn my microphone down, but I'm not sure if Joe knows
the one
yet.
thing that we have in technology is that technology now we've got AI here.
AI?
Right? Yeah, artificial intelligence, and it knows that you're speaking, and it automatically turns the volume down.
Automatically.
Yeah,
it just goes, oh, that.
I just wish we had it in the office.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's a little harsh.
That is a little harsh. Well, welcome back to the show. We're here joined with our buddy and board member at Purple Heart Homes, Mike Lennon, Marine Corps veteran and pigeon stomper and sheep farmer, sheep rancher. Mike, thanks again for being here. We're really grateful. You took some time out of your day up in lovely Virginia to hang out with us. When you got out of the military and you've now come on as a board member, but what was transition like?
Yeah, before we get
You
to
wanna
it,
do that?
I was like, what is going on?
Well,
I was like,
hey.
we just discussed. So Brad
Hey, how about
completely
this?
forgot about the thing that we talked about
Yes.
5 seconds ago.
Okay,
did.
well,
That
that's it,
happens.
because I got old timers disease.
happens.
So
a
yeah,
lot.
so I have a little special. Mike, do you recognize this object for the listeners at home that can't see? This is a blue hat that says Purple Heart Homes. Do you know where this came from?
Yeah, that's my favorite hat that I've ever had in my entire life, right there.
Oh, man, and this is his actual hat.
And why do you have it?
Well, because he might have put it in my care last time I visited with Mike.
And you forgot to give it to
And
him.
I did.
And
well,
so you're going to fuss at me for getting to talk about it, and then you forgot to actually give the man his hat.
I actually forgot to give the man his hat back. So this is his actual hat, and I'm gonna mail this back to you.
At his actual address.
At his actual address.
Fantastic.
Along with a brand new one that looks a little bit more like mine. So
That's
you
awesome,
You get an
Mike.
upgrade.
Get 2 hats.
2 hats for the price of one.
Yeah, it's a 2-hat show. So,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
we'll also get you a Putting the Pieces Back Together T-shirt coming your way. So thanks, brother. We appreciate you being here. So, hey, tell us a little bit about is there a particular veteran that Purple Heart Homes has helped, that a story that has stuck out in your mind over the years that was meaningful to you?
Oh, that's impossible. It really is. I mean, the tiny home up on the mountain,
Yeah.
where the guy was living in a garden shed.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. Yeah, Mr. Bill.
Bill Rocan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mr. Bill. And he's living comfortably in the rain today, and he's dry and warm, and that's
He
fantastic.
is, and he's got an operating washer and dryer, which
He does. Yeah. It was
that was
fun.
something that was so exciting for him.
Yeah, and then having a sink, right?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, he said, "I've got a sink."
Oh my
and
gosh.
He never had dishes. He didn't.
Oh.
He didn't have dishes for 20 years. He didn't have any dishes because he didn't have a sink to wash his dishes.
Can
in.
you imagine being thankful for having dishes?
Yes, I saw it.
That's amazing.
I mean,
I
that's
watched it happen.
Wow.
So yeah, I've
Thanks
eaten
for
tuna
taking
out of
part
a-
in it.
My observation about the best veteran serving nonprofit organizations are they have very simple value statements or mottos or slogans, whatever you want to call it. So ours is every veteran deserves a safe place to call home.
Yeah.
Or Fisher House Foundation with theirs is a family's love is good medicine.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
If you can say it in one sentence,
Oh, yeah.
and
Yeah.
Mike Lennon can remember it.
Yeah.
I can't remember my hat, but I can remember those two things.
Evidently, Devin can't remember your hat either,
Yeah.
neither can I.
Or neither
Yeah,
can.
that's right.
Everyone forgets Mike's hat.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Looking ahead, as we think about what are your hopes for the growth of Purple Heart Homes? What do you hope to see? Let's say 5-10 years down the road. What would you like to see Purple Heart Homes accomplishing?
Well, there's so many deserving service-disabled veterans out there, and there's going to be more because of the, whatever, I can't count the years, but 20 years, 15 years of war that we just went through.
Yeah.
That number of service-disabled veterans is just going to continue to grow. Therefore, our ability to serve them in a timely manner has to grow. And to me, with my IT task force focus, technology is going to play a role in that because we have to be successful in establishing chapters.
Yes.
So when somebody establishes a chapter, they should just feel like they're logging into something. They now have this conduit to the headquarters, and the headquarters has a conduit back to them. And they can, hey, I've got a veteran in my community that needs support. I'm going to help them through the application process. Application process is done. Where are they in the queue? Hey, I've got some local budget to support them. I want to make sure that money gets used here in Lynchburg, Virginia, for example. Okay, that's earmarked. We know where it is. It's auditable. I can report that to anybody that asks. The business processes are consistent because there's automation behind it. So when somebody is committed to establishing a chapter, it should be very easy. It shouldn't be complex technology. It should be like having can't think of a good example right now, but just a simple interface for 2 or 3 people to run a chapter. And
yeah, agreed.
And you're not just hanging out behind the scenes. You're actually getting your hands dirty trying to start a chapter, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm trying to start 2, I think. So we've had some conversations in Rockbridge County with Virginia Military Institution and VMI and Washington and Lee and the mayor of Lexington, Virginia, Mayor Frank Friedman. And I've also been going over to Lynchburg, Virginia, because of another Marine Corps buddy, a guy named David Wood, who got commissioned through the same program as Dwayne Legan and I. Dave was a year before me and Dwayne. And Dave introduced me to the Lynchburg Area Veterans Council, which is a really interesting thing. In Lynchburg, Virginia, this Veterans Council, what they do is they bring together 7 or 8 of the veterans organizations that everybody, the VFW, the Disabled American Veterans, Combat Motorcyclist Association. They get together once a month in a meeting place, and they sit there and say, okay, let's do a roundtable. What are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing?
Mm-hmm.
And they just talk about it from the common veterans perspective in the community to make sure that they're putting I call it the combined arms effect of the power of their organization to help their community, as opposed to, rice bowl effect. You can't see what I'm doing. I don't want to tell you until
Correct.
I have a newspaper article about me. This is all about me and my organization. They don't look at it that way. They look at it as, how do these 7 or 8 organizations in the Lynchburg Area Veterans Council support the veterans in our community? And what they do is they meet every Friday informally at the Memorial Terrace in Lynchburg, Virginia, which is an area in the city that goes up a hill, and it has monuments to each of the wars that our country has fought. And they meet down at the bottom, and they park all their motorcycles, put up signs and flags and a PA system. And a guy named Steve Bozeman is the master of ceremonies. He's somebody that you guys should get on your radio show.
Oh yeah,
he would be great. He was, he was shot down twice in Vietnam as an air crewman in the Marine Corps. I know you're going to, Brad. I know you're going to have a little bit of time between me and another Marine, but that's okay.
Yeah, it's a rule. It's part of our standard operating procedure. Yeah, every Marine at least every other 3 weeks.
Every other 3 weeks.
Yeah,
is that
Yeah.
But to me, they're just a model. They're just a model for how every community in the country should use the combined forces of veteran organizations.
Well, I would say this. And I'll say this. Yesterday I was on a call with, if folks aren't familiar with Team Rubicon, I was on a call with those folks. And Team Rubicon is a national veterans organization that mobilizes veterans that want to get back to their communities in response to disaster relief. Mm-hmm. And they are in every state in the Union and in Puerto Rico and in countries around the world. And so when something bad happens, all these, they call them gray shirts because they wear gray shirts that say Team Rubicon on them. And they go out and mobilize to these affected areas. When we've got, like, if you've been watching the weather, we're in the middle of potential flooding, and then if you look out in the Atlantic Ocean, there's already hurricanes headed this way.
Oh yeah,
could be a busy year, and they mobilize. And so the call that we had yesterday was during their downtime when they don't have disasters to respond to, is how can Purple Heart Homes and Team Rubicon work together, and connected them up with our. With Matt Stevenson, so our program services director, and then with Liana, our volunteer coordinator, and then they're going to get plugged in some of our events that we're doing. And so one of the things that I believe in, what you said, Mike, is groups that are doing different things, collaborating together for one unified mission, and that is and from our perspective, ensuring that every veteran has a safe place to call home. With organizations like Team Rubicon that have this huge footprint everywhere now, because we're connected with them as we develop that relationship. If we've got a project in Nebraska, there's Team Rubicon people there, right? Sure. So they're everywhere. Their tentacles are, with lack of a better term, but they're everywhere, right? All over the place, and they have a tremendous IT system as well that they communicate, down the organizational chart. And it's structured much like the military.
Yeah, their ability to disseminate that information.
Oh, it is
so quickly.
Man, it is just super fast. Yeah, super fast. So,
can I tag in on that?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you asked me about my transition out of the military, and I'll tell you about my transition out of the technology industry that I worked in for 22 years also. So I worked for 2 big tech companies, 3 actually, but because of my 12 years at SAP, I worked on their international defense and security industry team. So I represented the American team to anybody that SAP does business with globally. Got it, Evan. Thank you. So I have friends in Australia and New Zealand and Germany and the UK, et cetera, and they're following me because my LinkedIn profile and Instagram posts about Purple Heart Homes.
Mm-hmm.
So something that I put in my preparation, we're getting ready for the in-person board meeting in August, I think.
Yep.
We got sent a survey, give us your ideas so we can assemble that information. I've had a couple people ask me, hey, could you coach us through how you became Purple Heart Home? We have veterans in our country that need things like you guys do. Wow. Could you do it here? Could you teach us how to do it here? So the thing I talked to John about a couple times is, what about Ukraine? You have all these people fighting for freedom in Ukraine. What if we set up a chapter in Ukraine or taught somebody how to establish Purple Heart Homes in Ukraine?
Wow.
But when you talk about some
New
home
Zealand
repair that needs to go on,
wow,
Lord have mercy.
That'd be pretty tremendous.
Lord have mercy.
Yeah.
What a brutal affair that recovery is going to be going forward. Once this thing comes to hopefully a soon end. So yeah, that's really interesting.
Okay.
Well, for those that don't know, we just finished our 3rd project in Puerto Rico.
I believe so.
Yeah,
3,
I think we finished 3 projects in Puerto Rico because that's the first. Those are the first projects kind of off the. Well, we've done some in Hawaii, but
those people are so grateful. Have we done one in Hawaii?
We have. We've done a couple projects in Hawaii, and we've done projects in Alaska as well.
Yeah.
So, yeah, man. I think the natural growth would be, out. If we can work out how to do all that, so it would be great. Wouldn't it be cool to take the idea of serving those who have served your country into other countries, so that they could
that would be amazing.
That culture of taking care of those who have served, ensuring every veteran in every place in the world that they have a safe place to call home, whether it's Botswana or Bakersville, North Carolina. Do you like how I used both B words?
Yeah, I don't even think I can say the first one.
Botswana and Bakersville.
So. Yeah, I'm not going to attempt that.
Careful with that B word.
Well, Mike, we've got we just got a few minutes left in the show. We've got a couple of events coming up, and you're coming to one of them. What is that event that you're coming to?
I'm coming to 2 of them. I'm coming to the skeet shoot and to the golf tournament.
Don't come to the skeet shoot, man. I will wear you out.
Oh, it sounds like a challenge.
Wear you out. I destroyed General Schwanek last time, and I'm taking you next, brother.
All right. So
Just
what's
kidding.
the over/under on that?
No, you got it. Right. The over/under on that. Watch, I won't hit a thing. So
that was a pun, by the way.
We've got these 2 amazing events. We've got our skeet shoot that's happening September 13th at beautiful Hyatt Farms down in Polkton, North Carolina.
Polkton, I ain't even ever heard of that.
That's a place named
Wow.
after James K. Polk. September 13th, you can check that out. We've got our golf tournament coming up October 26th at Rocky River Country Club in Charlotte, right out by the Speedway.
Oh, man, that sounds like
It's a good place,
be a lot
man.
of fun.
And then, of course, we've got Take That Hill coming up October the 7th right here in lovely States Vegas. It'll be held at Southern Distilling Company as our host for the day. That's sponsored by Wayne Brothers Construction Company out of Davidson, North Carolina, and the Velo Collective, which is a group of cyclists that love to support charity events, and we're really excited to have them on board.
The fall is busy. For
It is straight busy. And Mike, we're super glad that you're coming. And hey, we'll give you the last word. We got about a minute left. Anything else you want to share with our listeners?
Had a couple interesting veterans pass through the other day, supported by a thing called Warrior Expedition. A Marine named Sean Gobin runs that organization, and I happen to live 3 miles from the Appalachian Trail.
Okay.
So that was pretty cool.
That is.
So if you see any hashtags from Warrior Expedition, referencing Purple Heart Homes. They said that they would do that for us.
That's awesome.
If you see any branding coming out of that.
Nice.
Yeah, it's a pretty neat organization.
Thanks, brother. Well, we appreciate you being on the show. That's all the time we've got today. Thanks for listening to Putting the Pieces Back Together. Presented by Purple Heart Homes. We'll see you next week with an awesome guest. Maybe Devin's not going to be here.
What?
Oh, no,
man.
just kidding. All right.
Oh, geez.
Hey, y'all have a great
Too many
Tuesday.
Marines.
We'll see you next week.
You've been listening to Putting the Pieces Back Together with John Gallina and Brad Borders. Join us again next Tuesday at 8 a.m. and Saturday at 5 p.m. for Putting the Pieces Back Together on News Talk WSIC.
News Talk W.
You want your phone? You want to give me your phone so you can take
Yeah. Oh, he already hung up.